And this is, I guess, a little bit of a lesson. I've taught it before. A little more of a reminder. These are skills. This is culture. Mindset. Top right quadrant are your A players. Bottom right quadrant are your B players. Top left quadrant are your C and your D players. Bottom left quadrant are your F players. Obviously, we all know that we want A players, right? A players are high on culture, high on mindset, and high on skills. Obviously, what's the most obvious thing in the world? Get rid of the F players, right? The F players make it easy for you. No one, I read a book, and in the book, the author talks about how much he hates people who make a big deal about saying how much they hate losing. Like, they think they're a winner because they tell everyone how much they hate losing. It's like, saying you hate losing doesn't make you a winner. Saying you hate losing makes you a regular human being because no one likes losing, right? Saying that you can fire your F players doesn't make you like a badass entrepreneur. It just makes you not completely and totally stupid, right? Mm-hmm. F players make it so easy for you because not only do they have a bad mindset and bad culture, but they're also terrible at their job. Yes? Mm-hmm. The dangerous ones, this is the dangerous one. These are the dangerous ones. The dangerous ones are the C's and the D's, right? Because they're good at their job, but they're fucking horrible to be around. They're toxic. They're divisive. They're looking for problems instead of looking for solutions. And you know who hates being around the C and the D players the most?
A and B players.
The A players. The A players hate being around the C and the D players worse than anyone.
You got to protect the A's.
See, the B players don't really hate being around the C and the D players that much because they at least look up to them and think, well, you know, he's really good at his job. She really knows how to do this. I can learn something from her. She's so much better than me technically.
They're ripe for manipulation,
and they're ripe for manipulation and indoctrination. You're exactly right. So the C and the D players, they go and they try to recruit the B players by mentoring them and coaching them and training them. And the problem is they mentor. In December of 2018, in December of 2018, I had to fire 9 people. I had to fire my entire operations department. All but one. 9 out of 10 people in my operations department, I had to fire them all in the same month.
December 2019?
2018. Because, maybe it was 2017. I got to go back. I got a list of when I fired the ringleader. And then I can tell you whether it was 27. This is the whole fucking point. Who the fuck knows?
Right.
It was ancient history. It just goes, right? Because I had a ringleader who was good with skills, horrible with attitude, and he began ruining B players, like ruining them.
So they align against the A.
I had a young woman working with me who was a B player. B minus, because she had a good attitude but horrible skills. But she was coachable, she had a positive attitude, she was very young, she had potential. She had no college education, but she had a good attitude. And I said to her, hey, you know, we need to start building your toolbox, right? And a simple thing you can get is a notary public. Become a notary public. Anyone here a notary public? It's a good skill to have, right? It's a good tool to have in your toolbox, right? You go to get a job, and all the other candidates, no one has a notary public. you're the only one that got a notary public. Maybe it's a low-level, entry-level job. It's at least going to make you stand out a little bit, and your boss is going to go, oh, that's interesting. This person has to at least have their shit a little bit together because they got their notary public. And I said, get your notary public, I'll pay for it. Plus, it was convenient because we were constantly having to go out and find notaries to get things notarized. And I said, not only will I pay for your notary public, which is like $90, and you'll have it on your resume forever, but every time we notarize something, we'll pay you like $5 because we're paying the UPS store 10. This motherfucker tells her not to do it because we might pressure her one day to notarize something illegal.
Wow.
And 19-year-old her, who doesn't know any better, is like, oh, well, I guess I won't do that. Here's how that story ends after I fired her. I fired her because her skills weren't getting any better, and her attitude was getting worse. And I fired her. She's 19 years old at the time. And I said, listen, how many of you require your employees to give you notice if they're going to quit? Okay? How many of you give your employees notice when you fire them? Okay, well, I gave her a month's notice. Said, I'll pay you for a month. You can continue driving the brand new car that you drive that I leased for you after we found out that you were driving an old piece of shit, and I sent you to the mechanic, and the mechanic who I'm friendly with called me and said, this car is unroadworthy, and she should not drive this car. This is not a safe car to drive. And so we're like, oh, fuck, what are we going to do? So we literally drove down to the mini dealership and leased her a brand new car. Because that's what you do when you've got someone who you think is going to be a good part of your team. And I said, you're fired. You can continue driving the car for a month. You can continue using the office if you want it for a month. We're going to keep you in the health insurance for a month. I'm going to pay you for another month. And your job is to spend a month and figure out what do you want to do next. And tell us how we can help you do that. Want to go back to school? We'll help you go back to school. You want to start a little business? We'll help you start a little business. You want to get a job doing something else? We will put out the feelers. We know a lot of people. And we'll see if we can help you find another job, and we'll give you a great reference, blah, 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 blah. And this motherfucker, I put this piece of shit in charge and said, you're going to report to this person every week. All you got to do is report every week what you're working on, the progress you're making, so that when you come back in a month, we can sit down and show me your plan. I said, by the way, your grandmother lives in Spain, you're close with your grandmother, you are fluent in English and Spanish, you've always wanted to go spend some time in Spain, you always talk about that. You could even make a plan to move to Spain, live with your grandmother, and teach English, and probably make a good living in Spain, teaching English, and I'll help you figure out all the stuff and get you the immigration. We'll do all that stuff for you. So, I come back and I meet with her on her last day of the month, and what was her plan? Under the guidance, mentorship, and tutelage of this piece of shit.
Nothing.
Nothing. Her plan was nothing. I have no plan. Wait a second. I gave you the gift of a lifetime, and you've done nothing. You've squandered it. That's the danger of these people who are good enough to do their job that you put up with their shit, but they're quietly ruining everyone on your team. They're toxic, toxic, toxic people, and you have to get rid of them as quickly as possible.